right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special 2020 Worldwide Regression Week, Unleashing Your Mind Roundtable. And I want to introduce my wonderful friends here, my wonderful colleagues. They're all around the world. Let's start with beautiful Mario Radinger. He is in Germany. We have Chrysilla Lewies, who is in outside of London and in England. And we have Hara Katsiki, who is also in Germany. And we have Dr. Allison Brown, who's on the East Coast of my country in, Allison, what state exactly? Why don't I ever remember that? Is it Georgia? Are you in Georgia?
Outside of Charleston, South Carolina.
There you go, South Carolina. Forgive me. I've just imagined you over that way, and I did not commit it to memory, so forgive me. So today, we are getting together and we are going to talk about things that are happening in our quantum healing practices, particularly and specifically with our Beyond Quantum Healing practices here in 2020, how things have changed, what kind of energies have changed, what we find new happening in sessions over the last little while. We're going to compare notes, talk about sessions, talk about trends, and share those stories with you. And from here on out, I am going to defer to my colleague, Chrysilla, because she's going to kind of take over the hosting and moderating from here so that I can sit back, participate a little bit, but take a little bit of a breather from all of what's going on. So thank you, Chrysilla.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Candace. And just to introduce everyone to Candace, Candace is the creator of BQH, and that is what we will be speaking about today, how BQH has changed. And mostly I feel we're going to be talking about healing as well, because I feel healing is such a big aspect of what we're doing. Healing the emotional body, the physical body, and how we are seeing healing occurring in the sessions. So thank you everyone for doing this. I know we're going to have a wonderful time. So to start off with how healing can look like, I would like to ask, can we think about what we have seen healing to be in our sessions and what the difference is between receiving healing when clients come with no expectations and when they actually do come with all these expectations, but actually walk away with healing that occurred in a way that they did not expect it to unfold. So Hara, would you like to start with your list? I know you have some examples you'd like to share.
Yes, thank you, Chrysilla.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. So yeah, I was just saying before we start this show that I made a little list of things I have seen happening in my sessions during the healing portion of it. So I've seen more and more interactive healing. So I see BQH expanding more and more and more. It was already open to adapt different modalities. And the interesting thing is that as you make space for that, I see this being invited in my sessions, and things that I didn't expect I'm being asked to do from the guides of the higher self of the people that I'm having sessions with. And I made a list, and as I'm looking at the list, I'm thinking like, wow, that's amazing. Because, for example, I have guides and higher selves of the people asking me to do hands-on, to assist with my hands on a specific part of the body while they are transmitting light codes or healing energy, just to also assist in a way with my hands. I was asked a few days ago by Saint Germain. He was speaking through a client to bring the water that we did in the water alchemy ceremony, because he wanted to infuse it with the violet flame even more than what we did in the water ceremony. And then the client had to drink the water while he was under. So he had to open his eyes, drink the water, and then go back into the hypnotic state. I had Gaia coming through and asking me, she wanted to speak through the client, and she asked that if I can play some birds as a background music so that she can feel more in her space, or I don't know. I didn't even question it. I just did it, and it was amazing, the connection we had. I have other higher selves asking me to pray while they are doing the healing, or they are then the clients themselves, while they receive the healing, they are sometimes they chant mantras, or they say certain or they sing songs. Remember, Chrysilla, this little video I edited where Stephanie was singing a song, a beautiful song that she just received from her higher self. I have other clients during the healing that they're tapping themselves.
Hold on there, we're going through this list way too fast. I want to know more about like the mantras. Do you sing with your clients? Is there specific mantras that they choose that they feel like is more appropriate for healing?
I don't chant with them. They are being asked from their guides or whoever they are connecting at that time. And it's usually, I mean, it doesn't happen very often. It hasn't happened so many times. But it's sometimes it's like maybe it can be just one word or one letter, or just a sound. And sometimes it can be just sound without being chant. It can be scream. I had sessions, clients that during the healing, they screamed. And they were like, perhaps they were like the energy that was, perhaps it was like maybe anger, release of anger. It was just coming through screaming. So different kinds of sound and vibration, this, being manifested into healing.
Yeah.
Then I see orbs, different orbs of light floating sometimes, and often it can be the same color with the energy center that they work with. So if they work on their throat, the orb is blue. The heart is usually pink or green, and so on. So I have spotted sometimes orbs flying around. And then they heal also. The people who receive healing, the physical sensation, they often describe it as tingling sensation or intense heat in the area that they are receiving the energy. Sometimes they get dizzy. They get in a vortex. They are sweating. Sometimes they have bursts of laughter, or so there's like emotional release, or maybe it's crying or things like this. And I also see a lot of ascended masters who come to assist with the healing, not just the higher self, but different ascended masters or different beings who are connected to this specific person, and they come in to assist.
Wow, absolutely. So many amazing things there. Now, Candace, I would like to hear from you because you're such an amazing storyteller. Like, I know that you love telling about how the higher self give guidance on healing, how they do not act upon it, and then the illness comes back. So please tell us about some of the miraculous healings that has taken place in your sessions, but also reappeared because they did not listen to the higher self.
Well, gosh, I've told that story a lot. My main story was my friend Mary, who had esophageal cancer. I've told that story because it's we used to tell that story in Dolores Cannon's classes because it was so prophetic. And what's even so amazing about this prophetic story is really in the end, she did exactly what she meant to do, which is her story of being healed once, then healed twice, and still not following through with what she needed to do to keep the healing. In the end, that becomes, and she decides to exit the planet. In the end, that becomes a greater story to tell in our community. Why? Because so many people actually balance, heal all the way, but then they don't talk about it anymore, right? They're off being positive and living another life, and they sometimes don't even need to talk about their healing. Some of our best healing stories, I don't know about you, but certainly some of mine, some of my best healing stories, that people just fade away. And why not? Because we're the last on their stop of their other life where they were experiencing this thing, right? So you're always having a choice, and this is why patterns repeat, et cetera, et cetera. But and I want to hear other people's stories, but I have to say this, Hara, thank you for the beautiful list. But hands-ons always kind of come up in sessions, but way more so lately, and so much so that there was a lot of back and forth of hands, and this was an online session with a client, with me, and with Dolores Cannon, coming in and telling us to do separate things like this. And then, of course, through the client was speaking, hearing Dolores repeating what she said. It had to do with hands. Dolores was helping activate healing portals in her hands. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's cool, and then suddenly Dolores and she bring into it. And it's like, now, Candace, you imagine, and there was like a sharing of our hands sharing the healing, even though online session. Again, I thought it couldn't almost get any cooler. And then Dolores says this towards the wrapping up. Now, Candace, when you're done, I want you to go take those hands. My husband's just recovering from a surgery. Put your hands on your husband's leg. Still very okay. And then this is the cool part. For me, the coolest part, because she says, now go out and do this to your horse, your brown and white horse, every day on his left front leg. And I'm thinking, what? Dolores is saying this, and it had no context. My horse was fine. Well, I need to count how many days, but about 4 days later, my horse limps in from the pasture, is working on a big abscess in the hoof of that leg. And I'm out there now caring for him, doing more of this. And here's possibly the coolest thing of all. My own very conventionally trained vet right here in rural Kansas, when I'm calling her, because that doesn't stop me from calling my vet, this stuff. And I've never had to deal with a hoof abscess before. It's my first one. And in the end, you know what some of her doctoring instructions were? To do the upgraded, she called it Reiki, because actually I tuned her to Reiki. Do the upgraded Reiki 3 times a day for 15 minutes every day, plus Epsom salt soaks and whatever. She combined her understanding of this energetic, upgraded hands-on stuff with her own very practical, conventional knowledge. And I'm out there, dealing with my horse like this, hoping that I don't have to have her come out and actually do any sort of procedure so that we can resolve this issue. How cool is that? Dolores and this client, they were tapping into the energy of what was going on with my horse in the future. It hadn't even happened yet. I mean, I've got five equines, 5 of them. And I've only one that's brown and white. And of that brown, they all have 4 legs, right? Just think about the numbers there. If we aren't connected, we are connected. So much stuff's coming through. And I think that's really exciting. And please, I want to hear some of your other stories. Maybe Allison has something to say here.
I did want to confirm what you all are mentioning, in that, there's always been some degree of assistance from the practitioner, but lately it has ramped up. And in 2 of my last 3 clients, the first one I was guided to hold her hand, just as simple as holding her hand. And this woman in particular she's not a hugger. She doesn't really like to be touched. So I thought that was interesting. And then the next client, I was told to place my hands on her heart. And she was a victim of abuse from long-time abuse from childhood, but had recently also been violated again a couple of weeks prior to her session. But luckily, she trusted me. And so, I trusted the team when they told me to place my hand on her chest, because that's a vulnerable spot for her. And it was very powerful and moving. But typically, they would always ask, just to hold hold the space, hold a vision of white light surrounding the client, or, start sweeping energy. But this time they're actually asking me to touch the client, which is unique and different. That's the way it's been changing for me.
And Maria, do you have some exciting stories of healing or amazing things that have happened in your sessions to share?
Well, it's actually interesting. The focus of healing in my sessions has definitely shifted over the last month, or you could even say 1 or 2 years. I seem to attract clients that look for deep emotional healing. So in the beginning years, there were many more physical ailments that people came with, and not so much anymore. It's almost like a side thing on people's list. Like my focus seemed to have shifted to like emotional trauma, and I do very much welcome that, because I'm very interested in that kind of work, and maybe that is the reason why these kind of clients are attracted. So I see a lot of tears in sessions. It's almost like a staple, and a lot of yawning and gases, like release, like on a physical level, definitely, but it always seems to be like an emotional focus, definitely, and mental. But when I heard all your stories about hands-on, I realized that lately I have gotten the impulse from my team, to use my hands in sessions as well, but not really on the body. It's more like they tell me to do like a certain movement in the air, or like to imagine like the client in front of my closed eyes and like pulling something out of them, or like, doing like a circular movement or whatever. I don't really do it consciously. It just happens. So that has been very interesting lately.
I find normally I go in an 8. I don't know why, but I use the 8 sometimes, in my sessions. But fascinating how you said about emotional healing. And I feel like clients are attracted to practitioners due to their life experiences, their passion. And because your passion is in that certain aspect, I feel like that is why the client's drawn to you. And I think, Hara, I spoke to you about clients as well at one point with regards to them overcoming maybe alcoholic or drug abuse because of your DJ background and you having that experience. You have a lot of clients as well that do struggle with things like that.
Yeah, and also this wave is over, thank God, because it was challenging. But I had a big wave of people with mental issues, quite intense cases, and I received them all, and there was a lot of work that was being done, and this wave is now gone. And I was nodding while Mario was speaking and laughing and smiling, because I do get now a big wave of people who are releasing emotional stuff, and I see many in our windows here nodding. So I guess there are many, maybe Allison and Candace also attract more of this.
Of the emotional healing?
Yes.
Well, while you were talking, I was actually thinking about, the attractions of clients. And what I find fascinating, even though she's not here today, but a colleague of ours, Allison Coe, and so much, the last time we did a show together, which actually was in January, and we talked about how we both have a sense that this year is going to be chaotic. And of course, we're recording this now towards the end of March, and God even knows what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone the first part of April. That must be said. But for an example, Allison tends to attract the client that has this deep interest in the energetics of the shift and the earth and the event and the things out there and stuff. And, yes, I've had clients like that, but not nearly as much. They are primarily focused on their own very private, very singular issues. And it's very interesting, and there's a lot of cross connection and stuff, but I don't get a lot of these more cosmic focused clients. They're focused on some very human things. So, and I'm focused on it, even though doing this work and supporting practitioners all across the world, I really like being human. I mean, I live on a farm. There's lots of dirt and animals out here, and there is no escaping the very physical. I mean, I'm wearing my flannel shirt today. I actually came in from out of the wind and outside, down in the basement, my temporary studio while my dad's upstairs, to do this roundtable. But I'm very focused on those things too. So I think that is expanded and is felt in our energy. And I think, some of that is in our energy. And this is it's just, it's attraction like this. And it's also a reason so many people, I do want to mention this because it gives me an opportunity to, so many people actually ask this question of me when they inquire about BQH, and Beyond Quantum Healing course. They want to know where all of my videos are, like Alba's. And of course, I'm talking about our wonderful friend and colleague, Alba Weinman. She's actually part of this series as well. I've interviewed her in this series. And the thing is that, Alba's focus has been to record and to share this information and walk that path. And my path has not been that so much. Yes, there's been a few sessions that are out there, but it's not at all my focus. And my clients are very much concerned with their privacy. And there's just not a lot of that out there. It's fine to talk about the stories, and I have to bring it back to Dolores. Dolores never did this. I think there may be one on the internet, and it's from so long ago, but hers were very private sessions that she just wrote about after the fact. That's how this kind of all started. So not all of them are videotaped. And I will tell you that I'm almost certain that, not that it's a bad thing, but that camera is like another presence in the room. It just is. It just is. And it's the future potential presence of the entire world seeing this stuff. And that changes the energetics of this session. And that, again, too, is how, and it goes back to the attraction, right? My energetics probably isn't going to have that. Alba's is, right? So a different clientele, different focus, different things we talk about. So I think that plays into what you're asking, Chrysilla.
Totally. Your story just reminded me. I've had a number of clients actually who first wanted a video recording. And then once they were like lying down and like we were about to start, they were like changing their mind. They're like, oh no, I don't feel comfortable with this camera. Can we shut it off? And so, yeah.
Interesting what you say. It happened to me twice the last months. The clients asked for the session to be recorded because they wanted to share it, and they changed their mind after they didn't want to share it anymore.
Mm.
Allison, with regards to your background with channeling, right? Because it's very much in the family, and as well with what you do. I don't know all of your background, but how does that involve or attract the clients that you're getting? Like, do you get clients that are more in tune with channeling, channel easier, channel light codes or light
It's
language?
really, I'm having a little bit of internet difficulty, so I'm gonna assume that I know what you just asked. So it's really fascinating. What I was finding when you all were talking about clients is we tend to get, and my husband is a trance channel, and so he does his own work and we do that together. So what we tend to find are either really beginning seekers or a lot of light workers. So when I first started BQH, I was getting lots and lots of light workers, and my sense was that it was time for them to clear their stuff so they could go out and help others. That was the sense that I was getting, and they were coming for help in that, to clean up the remains of whatever it was that they needed to heal. And so a lot of our focus, though, with the channeling, his team tends to be very angelic. We have Archangel Michael and Raphael and Enoch and Source, and we also have a Zeta ET being that's a parallel life of my husband. So my fascination is with the ET and the galactic information. So whenever I can squeeze that in, we do that, and the Zeta will come in and chat about that stuff. So a lot of our very philosophical, because it's angelic. But then when we get the Zeta involved or other galactic beings, then we have a focus like that. So that's really not necessarily my client base, but it is definitely one of my passions and the fun part, I think, hearing their perspective.
So how has healing changed for you in your sessions then, Allison?
How has it changed, other than just like you and Hara had led on, is that there's a little bit, it's more interactive now. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's not so much focus on past life. They just come in, the team comes in and gives the meat of what needs to happen, and takes care of the healing. They're also saying that the healing isn't necessarily done immediately, that it's going to take time, and that the client will notice certain things, and they'll tell us what the client's going to notice going forward, but that it's a little more gradual and not so immediate. But I have had some immediate emotional healings and a cat allergy that was immediately healed, things like that.
I think that is where we have to think about expectations, because clients come in with an expectations of, let's just go in for a quick fix, and that's not the case. Healing is a journey, maybe physical or emotional, and it is going to take time before you see any, changes take place. Yes, some of them are more instantaneous than others. Yeah. So Candace, would you like to tell us why you created this amazing BQH modality, beyond quantum healing? Because we are certainly going beyond in many ways.
Well, yes. Working with Dolores Cannon for so long and sitting by her side as she was teaching, I was so honored, so blessed to watch this incredible person work, and all of the stories she had, all of the experience she had, the amazing power that she exuded. I really was blessed, and I watched what she did, and she was very careful to focus on some things. And one of the things she focused on was simplicity, keeping things very, very simple, very, very basic, and presented everything very cleanly, very, very procedurally. Basically she would say, this is what I do, you do this. This is what I do this. This is what, and she taught in that way. But watching people take her class, then begin to practice her method, and starting from the very beginning, from 2008, I already knew that people weren't having the same kind of sessions that Dolores Cannon did. How could they? They weren't her. They didn't have her energy. They didn't have her, whatever, her experience. But we were talking about energy before. It was primarily her energy, right? There was different things that happened because of all kinds of things, but energy is one of them. And after her passing and watching some of the things that were happening in the world, and knowing that most quantum healers were expanding and becoming comfortable with their gifts, really, stepping into their gifts. And most of us have this intense love of learning, and we've gone out and taken other classes and explored other things, and we, and made all these connections. And it's only natural to want to bring all of that in, all of that. And look at us now, this whole big, lovely group right here. We're all connecting this way on the internet. Dolores never did this. Dolores never had a Zoom meeting in her life. I've said it before a lot. She had her emails printed off and handed to her on paper. Though Dolores did not interact with the computer like we do. So the things that quantum healers kind of cut our teeth on, shall we say, was a different experience. Dolores was doing this all by herself in obscurity in rural Arkansas, when she started by carrying great big reel-to-reel tape recorder. Come on, she started this all in my heart. Of course, other regressionists are out there, but it was time for the evolution. We've grown up. There are things that we need to do, and I believe. And look at even what's going on right outside our doors right now. There's a focus on our freedom. There's a focus on us stepping into our authentic selves, our creative selves, ourselves as creators. And BQH says, you alone get to decide what your practice is. And it does not focus on steps and methods. It focuses on energetic connection with your clients and bringing everything that you have to assist them in a session. And that is markedly different than the version that Dolores Cannon taught. But it's a markedly different time. And dare I say, by the time even this video airs, we may be in another version of the world that is brand new to all of us. And I'm of the sense, and I'm actually quite excited about some of it. I know there's going to be continued chaos and a lot of hardship and pain. I'm not discounting that, but I think I have to believe on the other side of it, we actually are stepping into the idea that we've been talking about for so long, the new earth. And I think BQH is poised to go there because of how expansive it is.
The world really needs it. I mean, in Germany, we've had this since we all have to stay home and, can't really you still kind of can, but people don't really visit each other that much anymore. My online session ratio has gone up immensely. People still want that experience, and they need their healing and they need their journeys, and I'm so grateful to have a BQH modality, under my belt, because otherwise this could not take place. And the online sessions have been amazing lately. It's, like you said, Candace, that would have not been possible, with Dolores, thing. And so it's a really great thing.
I love the fact that we can do it.
I would like to add. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Just to finish off with Mario, because Mario, I think you were really hesitant to do online sessions at first, wasn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the, sitting in a room with a person, like that connection, yeah. I really love that. And so I guess I imagined that it wouldn't be the same, but it's interesting. Whether I do live sessions or online sessions, I am doing the same thing. I don't feel any difference at all. Energetically, I feel as connected to that person sitting on the other side of the screen, lying on the other side of the screen, as someone 1 meter away from me. It's spectacular, actually. I did not expect that to happen, but it's the same thing.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you, Hara. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to add a little bit on what Candace said, because she really amazed me with what she said. She said that it's about the energetic connection between the client and the practitioner. And this is something I wanted to talk a little bit about as I see myself evolving as I'm practicing BQH. I have seen something occurring in my sessions, and I wanted to share with all of you. And I hope we get some comments, and maybe some of you are also experiencing the same. So as I'm doing sessions, I'm seeing this connection with my clients getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it has reached a level where during the session, during the hypnosis part of the session, I see what they are receiving internally before they say it, and the other way around. So they answer, they ask them a question, and they have already seen what I want to ask them. What I'm trying to say is that there is a coherency between me as a practitioner and them as a client. There's like a frequency match that occurs, and an energetic merge between us, between our minds and our hearts and our energy fields. And it shows because we are really, I know it might sound a bit big, but we are merging into one, as beating in as one heart, and this is just so beautiful. And it has helped me also as a practitioner to be of service more, I guess, I hope, because I also can feel them much more. I am able to let go of my personal identity and merge with them, and so I can really be inside of them and really feel what they feel, and know what it is that what they need. So yeah, this is one way I'm seeing myself evolving with this modality, with BQH.
It's, yeah, it's very interesting what you're saying. I can second that completely. Like half of the questions coming from me in the dialogue with the client, I don't even have to speak them anymore. I just think them, and then they answer them. Right? It's like, is that what you meant? Mm-hmm. And also, like what Allison said, I hear that very often, that from colleagues, that clients don't really go into past lives that much anymore. And whenever I hear that, I feel like I might be the last harbor where people like go to that need to see their other lives, because it happens very, very often. And I love it, actually, because it's such a privilege to go on a journey like that with the client. I've always felt that way. And in relation to what you said, Hara, when they go into other lives, it's almost like, okay, I can close my eyes and I go with them. I feel like I see and perceive exactly what they see. Like they don't even have to describe, their surroundings anymore, because I perceive it. It's like the connection between client and practitioner. Yeah, I can totally second that, Hara. It has changed.
I love what you're saying there, Mario, about the past lives thing, because so many things are changing. And it actually, it actually was in the same session that I mentioned earlier with the hands thing. And in that session, there was this scene. So as we do this, sometimes we don't know if we're seeing a past life or a metaphor or combinations of things. It could be all kinds of things. And this woman is in a scene where she's a midwife, right? And I'm still not knowing if we're in a past life or something, a metaphorically presented. And there's a woman, and the woman is giving birth, and then everything shifts. And you know how this happens, and this is another reason why BQH had to be created. So everything shifts, and I can tell what is happening, and what is being presented to me and laid out on a platter is, it is time for the healing, right? It is time for the body scan, the healing energy to come through. It's all happening right there, except for I'm like, okay, she's presenting as the midwife, but there's a mother on the bed, and then there's the baby, and which one is she getting the healing, where are we? And in the older, very methodical, very procedural way, it would be, wait, we have to get to the death scene of this person, ask about their life, and do it, do it very procedurally. But with BQH, it's so malleable. It's sort of like, and so I actually even ask, I'm like, okay, we need to talk about what's going on with this healing, because the light is coming in, and I'm seeing. And so what actually, with the back and forth and asking and talking with the presences that are coming forth, what I realize is what we're doing is we're bringing the light through all of them, including as aspects, all three of those beings as aspects of the same person, right? We are healing the child, the mother, and the assisting midwife of birthing this thing. And it doesn't have to be a past life. Well, no, but I love, so that was changing. I mean, when's the last time you brought the healing light through three versions of the person at the same time? That was a first for me. After all these thousands of sessions and all these years, even with all this stuff going, it's typically a singular something that is getting healing. And this time it was like, went down in confluence of three. That's amazing. But what I think is happening maybe, and I have such a nice feeling in my heart about this, Mario, you're such a storyteller. You write such beautiful, incredible stories with your journeys, the soul journeys that you share with us, and past lives lend themselves to these beautiful stories because we more easily with our imagination step into them and are able to relate to them a little. And sometimes some of this other stuff can be, look at what I just said, three aspects of the same person. And there's some people who might be listening to this going, what even is she talking about, right? But we can talk about and we can imagine the past a little more because we as humans, as a species, have read about our history and our historic past for as long as we can remember, right?
Yeah, I think storytelling and the enjoyment of stories is in our DNA, definitely. And we know there are always like multiple reasons for why things happen the way they do, but I also write these stories because I have gotten messages from people who said, and they're not related to this work at all, they're just like, friends or acquaintances like online, that they have read the stories and it kind of triggered something in them. And they had like an insight or like a dream in one of the nights, after that. So there's much more to that. I just follow the urge to do that. I think it's important to tell stories, and especially these kind of stories, because many people don't know, that other lives exist, and it broadens their horizon. So I love them in any way.
Absolutely, Mario, because they're so short and sweet and so to the point, it really touches the core, of the story and the message you want to put across. I really enjoy them as well.
Thank you.
And you post on Facebook, so please do tell people, where they can find you.
Well, I do post on Facebook actually under my name, Mario Radinger, but I always try to post them on Instagram as well. If you want to read them on Instagram, you can find them under the.soul.journeys. That's the account, and you'll find like a kaleidoscope of all different session experiences and stories there.
Fantastic. And Allison, where can people find you if they are looking for a BQH practitioner? And please do say what else you do as well.
My husband and I do dual practitioner Reiki sessions for those who are local. We also do, he does private trance channeling as well as surrogate healings that are channeled. And of course, I do BQH online and also in person, and I can be found at drallisonbrown.com, which is DRALLISON Brown with no E calm. But I did want to second what Mario said and the importance of stories, because, you know, the stories are universal. They're the stories of all of us. We all can relate to those stories. And so it doesn't matter whose story it is. We can all find some similarity, some comfort, and some healing in those stories. So thank you, Mario.
Thank you. And Hara, where can people find you?
So my website is qhht.cloud, and there I have the modalities I'm using, which is QHHT, BQH, and I can also find information about the workshops I'm giving as a School of the Heart teacher. And I'm going to be giving more and more workshops, and my next one is going to be embodying the higher self. So this is something I'm really excited about, and yeah, they can find all the information on my website.
Thank you. I am Chrysilla Lewies. You can find me at chrysillalewies.com. And of course, all our beautiful practitioners are also on quantumhealers.com. And now I'm going to transfer this back to Candace to close our beautiful roundtable.
Thank you, Chrysilla, so much for taking the reins on this one. I hope you get the joke there. Yep. The horse girl is a little tuckered out over here. Thank you so much. It's been so enjoyable to be with you all in this very, very uncertain time. I'd like to focus on the positive, on the light, on the shift, on the things that we can do to assist each other, remembering that our imaginations are what create our future. These are the things we focus on in BQH and in these kinds of modalities. And doing this more often, getting together with like-minded people and seeing our future as a very positive, healthy, fantastic, joyful place to be is the way to go, at least in my opinion. And of course, we're not closing our minds to all of the challenges and the traumas that are going on out there. We are all experiencing them, including myself, I promise you, but still focusing on what's going forward. So thank you all so much for gathering here today and bringing your hearts together in this beautiful collection. And for the rest of you, there's probably, I don't know what our lineup is quite yet because we're that messed up with the schedule at the moment, but there's more to come with Worldwide Regression Week 2020, Unleash Your Mind. So stay tuned for the next event or interview. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.